Great. Yeah? Santosh,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
And can you see my screen as well?
Yes.
Okay. We'll just start in like another 3-4 minutes and just wait for 3 minutes if somebody will join, and then we will start the demo. All right?
Sure.
Mic speaker setting तो बस ये एजाज फिर हम क्या करते हैं, एक काम करते हैं, मेरी तो सारी भी होने वाली है, मैं जा रहा हूँ सारी करने के लिए। हाँ सारी का टाइम हुआ, बल्कि आधा घंटा और ठीक है। तो थैंक यू, और बाकी मुझे बताओ कोई काम हो तो बता दो, साथ में ये कि हम इंशाल्लाह अगर तुम क्या
Hearing me or seeing my screen, just leave a message or something on the chat or raise a hand, and I'll be able to check that. So I... All right. So before we start, just a little thing about, so I really do not know what streams of work you're coming from, or you've been working with business objects or BW, or you guys have ETL experience, you know. So do not bother about recording. We have Ravi who's recording, or Kalyan who's recording the session. So once the session is complete, you could ask him and he could give you the recording piece so that in case you need it. All right. The reason why I haven't given organizer access to everybody is because a couple of times when we're doing a demo, somebody who wanted to leave the session by mistake, they click on the exit and then it is closed for everybody. So it's become a problem. All right. So today we will be looking into these three aspects, which is enterprise information management tools, data integrator, and data quality. And we will be looking at data services as a combined solution. All right. So I hope all of you have a little experience with either business objects or HANA or BW or probably some Oracle or some. In case you have not, I still will be going from the fundamentals of it, even through training. So just ask me a question anytime you feel that you're not on the same page, all right? Okay. So we will try to understand what an enterprise information management tool is, and then we will try to understand what exactly is data integrator. We'll try to understand the history about data services, how it came into the picture, what's the standpoint at this moment in the market. Then we'll talk about data quality and data services as a combined solution. All of you, if you can mute yourself, that will be great, because that little sound that comes from the systems, it might cause inconvenience to others. So try to be on mute, all of you. All right. So in case you want to ask any question, please raise your hand or just type it in the chat message and I'll be able to answer that. Okay. So now let's try to understand what exactly is an EIM tool. We have been using this term EIM tool for a lot of other systems as well, business intelligence and uh, any other system which will try to combine different systems. But what exactly is an enterprise information management tool? Now, if you're looking at organizations today or if you're looking at enterprises now, there are so many different functions that happen in an enterprise. When I say different functions, that could be finance, that could be sales and distribution, that could be HR or quality or any other material management, inventory, or any other function that happens in an enterprise. It could also be that you might have different systems from different organizations which are trying to exchange data, which are probably on different databases, or yeah, for that matter. Now, what an enterprise management, information management tool can do is it is able to bring these different functions or data from these different functions to a consolidated database. All right. So let's say there's some transactions happening on the finance side, and you might need to put that on the consolidated database where even the sales data is there, so that we can get a combined report. All right. So what an enterprise information management tool does is it brings all this data from different functions or different systems, and then we try to bring it at a consolidated database. Now, the speciality of enterprise information management tool is it is able to understand data coming from the source. It could be anything. It could come from, let's say, a simple worksheet, or it could come from an XML file, or it could come from a database or an application. So any system for that matter. It could come from web services or Oracle, SQL, Informix, anything. So data could come from anything, but when you place the data to a consolidated database, it has to understand the language of the database as well, all right? So it has to understand the source from which the data is coming. It should understand the target where the data is being pushed into, all right? So it is able to understand both the languages. Also, the enterprise information management tool also is able to connect across enterprises for you to bring the data inside again. So let's say there's a merger happening, and then you need to get the data from your sister company into the main company, all right? So now to move the data from one system to the other, then you need to understand the data in the other system, and you need to understand where to place that data in your system. And during that time, you would need the help of the enterprise information management tool. Now, there are so many enterprise information management tools in the market. Data services is just one of them, all right? Something that's come newly into market is what we think, but let's try to understand also the history about data services. So you have business intelligence, you have Oracle Fusion, you have Informatica, you have you have so many different EIM tools available in the market now. Data services is just another one which has recently come into market, or that we've been hearing about this a lot only recently. All right. After SAP acquired business objects, we've heard about data services a lot. Before that, it was not all that visible in the market space. Now, what data services existed as data integrators, all right? This was a small component or ETL component of business objects. We all know business objects for its wonderful presentation there, which has a lot of reporting tools for different situations. But we haven't, or we really don't know that there existed an ETL tool alongside the reporting tools as well. So they had a few tools called as the data integrator, data quality, and data federator, three different tools which were specifically used for the ETL purpose, okay, for moving data from one system to the other. Right? And now, Data Integrator was again acquired by Business Objects from a third party called as ActaWorks. Okay, ActaWorks were the company which developed Data Integrators, and Business Objects brought this as a third party from ActaWorks. Okay, and later on, SAP acquired Business Objects, and they got these three tools also along with the entire reporting pack. And before we try to go into detail, we'll also understand, or through the end of the demonstration, I will also tell you where all data services can be used, what are the different kinds of projects that we deal with, right? Migration, cleansing projects and all. We'll try to understand that. But at this point, we'll also understand about this tool. Now, they say that this tool has not just the feature to just move data from one system to the other, but it also has the capability to check for quality of the data that you're moving in. Now, when you're extracting data from different systems across the enterprise, there is a lot of probability that data might be redundant, data might be not of the best quality. So you would need a tool that would also cleanse your data, right? Apart from just moving your data from one system to the other, you will also want your tool to look for the best quality of data before you push it into the warehouse. All right. So data services gives you almost 80% data quality is what SAP says at this point. Now, before we had data services, SAP also acquired another tool called MDM, Master Data Management, which could not provide or which could not be up to the mark like they've promised. They said they would offer 75% data quality, but could not practically meet that number. They would only give 25 to 30% data quality. The reason being it was not able to handle the amount of data, and it was not too robust as well. But Data Integrator or Data Services, SAP says that they would give 80% data quality guarantee. We will try to understand how they are able to so confidently give that number and what is the intelligence behind the tool which will do the data quality for us. Right? So we will look at it when we're looking at the architecture of data services. Now, so if before we actually go ahead, let's try to understand how Business Objects has placed the architecture where data services comes into picture and how the ETL part of it is handled. And then we will try to see how it is now. So at this point, the topmost layer in the architecture is Data Federator. Data Federator is the abstraction layer on the top. When I say abstraction layer, what it does is it is more of a connecting tool, right? Like how you have the universe, and universe you can make different connections from different tools, right? And then you can see that entire structure in the semantic layer. So similar to that, if you guys have knowledge of business objects, if not, it is like a semantic layer, and it is more of a connecting tool. Now what happens is it is able to connect to, let's say you're extracting data from Oracle, from SAP systems, and again SQL systems. Okay. So what it does is it will give you a virtual picture of the tables that are necessary for you to bring in. So let's say you need to bring 2 tables from Oracle, 2 tables from SAP, and 2 tables from SQL. Now using Data Federator, you will be able to see all these 2 plus 2 plus 2, 6 tables together in the Data Federator. Okay, so it will give you that effect or the virtual effect that the data is already moved into the system and how you can arrange the data. So that's what you do at the universe level, right? So you take that data or those objects and then you try to arrange them so that you make a model. So something similar to that, this is what you can do at Data Federator level. Now, it is not a mandatory thing to have Data Federator, but if it is there, well and good. All right. Data Services also has the capability to connect to individual systems without the use of Data Federators. Okay. So what happens is data federator will connect uh, to the data services system. Okay, so data federator is making the connections, but data integrator is the actual ETL tool which will do your extraction, transformation, and loading logic. Okay, so the systems will connect to data federator, and data integrator will be pulling data or pushing data into your target systems or source systems. Now, it is not necessary that you should always have data federator. Data integrator, data services can be a standalone system without any federator connections and still can connect to all systems, to sources and targets as well. Okay. It's able to handle multiple sources and also multiple targets. Now, once data integrator is able to do the ETL logic, now that data will be pushed into a consolidated database or an application over which you will have the business objects enterprise, which is the entire suite of reporting tools. All right. So this is how it is right now. Now, data integrator or data services is able to connect to different objects, your cube structures or your DSOs or your table structures or flat files or web services. So it's able to connect to all of these, and then like any other ETL tool. So, and then it is able to extract data from there. And then that data will be pushed to a consolidated database over which you have the business objects enterprise, right? Now, when you are connecting to so many different systems, this system should be able to understand that it is connecting to this particular system, and it can talk to that system at a particular level. Now, let's say if you are if you are connecting to, let's say, a cube, a BW cube or something. So where are you connecting? How are you talking to that cube? So if you're talking about an Oracle system, can you connect to everything in the Oracle system? But you will be able to talk to the system only at table level or functions or stored procedures. So each system has one set of interface where you can talk to that system. So if you talk to an SAP system, you will be talking at IDOC level or tables or hierarchies or extractors. So that's where you talk to that system. So the interface at which you talk to these individual systems, where the system is both data services or data integrator and the actual system is able to understand and do a handshake and exchange data, that interface that we bring into the system is called as the metadata. All right. And like any other system, this system also has two extra tools, which is data lineage and impact analysis. Now, data lineage is the concept where you're trying to date back and see what are the changes that have happened in the system over a period of time. And you are able to see how a particular object has been developed and what changes have been made to it. Impact analysis is just the reverse to it, where you are able to see, in case you change a particular object, what are all the possible changes that might happen to the succeeding objects, which objects might be affected down the line, is what we see at impact analysis, right? So these are a couple of extra features that data services has. Now, once data is transformed or extracted from different systems, and then you place it at a consolidated database, and then over that database you build your business objects enterprise for your reporting purpose, right? Now, let's try to understand also how exactly data services existed previously and what are the changes that have happened. Now, the first naming that came, or the first product that came with data services was Data Services XI 3.0. Previous to that, it existed as Data Integrator and Data Quality as two separate products. All right? Data Integrator had its own servers, had its own repositories, and had its own designer or interface, okay, which was called the designer. And also alongside, there was also another tool called Data Quality, which had its own server, had its own repository, and had its own interface called as Architect. Now, what Data Integrator would do is it will extract, or it would extract the data, that data will be sent to, or it will transform your data, and that data will be sent or pushed into data quality, where that tool will check for the best possible quality aspect, and then data will be pushed back into the data services system or into your target system where your data is being consolidated. All right. So this is how it existed before SAP acquired business objects. But later on, so SAP thought, why should we have two separate tools when combining them can give us better benefits? So what they did was they brought data integrator and data quality onto the same platform, and they made them as one. So we do not have two separate servers anymore. We have one server, one repository, and one interface. And that interface is called as designer. And through that interface, you can access both data integrator and data quality as well. Okay. So that is the biggest change that happened from after business objects was acquired by SAP. The name was changed from data integrator to data services, which had data integrator and data quality as one component within the tool. So now, if you're looking, or let's try to understand how SAP defines data services. Now, SAP says that it's a powerful enterprise-class data integration and data quality solution, and the entire purpose of it is to provide one development, runtime, and management environment that allows you to integrate, transform, improve, and deliver data anywhere at any frequency. Now, what this means is that you are able to bring in data from any system, and you are able to send data to any system, and this can be done at any time, right, with any frequency. It could be probably a bad job at the end of the day, or you could do it as soon as there is a change on your source. It should be reflecting to your target side. If you want to do it that way, you can do it that way as well. So this is how SAP defines it, and let's also try to see what the different jobs it supports. Now, what does an ETL tool do, or what does data services do is what we'll try to discuss. Now, data services can be used as an extraction, transformation, loading tool. The reason why you use that is when you are trying to bring data from, let's say, a source, and then you're trying to push it into a target. Now, at that point, you might have to apply a few business rules, or you might have to apply a you need to do some cleansing of data. So there are a lot of things that you might do when you want to bring data. You want to do a lookup into another system or into another table for data integrity before you push it into your system. So for all of these, you have this ETL tools that are built. Okay. Now the advantage about data services is it's a graphical way of expressing things, and it's a lot simpler than, because there's not much coding. So because of the graphical method, what happens is the code is automatically developed within the tool, and it is an optimized script that gets developed, so it's really fast. The throughput is extremely fast when using this tool, and it's very simple to learn as well, or simple to use as well. All right. So now, like any other ETL tool, data services also supports two kinds of jobs. One is the batch jobs. These jobs are the ones which we run at the end of the day, usually at you mention a time frame when it should be running, and based on that time, it will execute the job. All right. So this is the batch jobs. Then you have the second kind of jobs called as the real-time jobs or the transaction jobs. Now, real-time jobs do not wait for any time or anything. They get triggered off based on your changes that happen on the source side, right? So any changes on the source, and automatically they get triggered off. The data is immediately passed into your target system. So let's say when you're dealing with HANA, or when you're dealing with web services, you don't want to wait for data to come in and then not a specific time when it should be moved into your target system. It should happen as and when the transaction executes on the source side. All right. So instant movement of data into your target system or instant movement of data based on your trigger from the source. So that is what happens at real-time kind of jobs, and that can be handled by data services as well. So that's why when you're dealing, all of you must be knowing a little bit of HANA, or you must have heard about this system called HANA, which is like a super system through which you can, they promise that you are able to report at real time. And for you to report at real time, you need data at real time pushed into that database, right? And data services is one of the methods how you populate data into HANA systems. And when you're trying to populate data into the HANA systems, and so you can use the batch jobs or real-time jobs to move data from an ECC system into the HANA database, all right? So the advantage that you have with using data services is you are able to connect any system, be it ECC, Oracle, SQL, BW, any system, and you are able to push that data into the HANA database where you can create a schema for yourself, and then over that you can do your reporting part. All right, so we will be looking into those, how you connect into HANA aspects as well, and how you can replicate data from your sources into the HANA database using data services. So we'll be looking into those as well. So if I show you this picture and tell you what exactly is happening, or ask you what exactly is happening, probably most of you would say that data services is very strategically placed in between your sources and targets where you extract data from, let's say, ERP, CRM, WMS systems. Then you would push data into the warehouse. So yeah, that is what this picture shows. But over and above that, if you look at the first half of the picture, there are bidirectional arrowheads. The reason why we have that is because I just wanted to prove that data services also has a staging layer, all right? So you in case you don't want to hit warehouse, you want to do some cleansing of your data. So you can extract data, cleanse your data at data services level, stage your data there, cleanse the data, and then push it back to your sources again. It is not mandatory that always you should be pushing data to your warehouse, all right? So you can push data to the sources back again, or to your traditional way, you can also push data to your warehouse after you cleanse your data here, right? So this is just a pictorial way of how things work. So you might be bringing data from different systems, and you will be pushing data to your target system. Yeah. Somebody has a question. Santosh?
Yeah, I have a question. Like you're talking about data. Yeah, you're talking about pushing the data from data services to data warehouse, right? So here, data warehouse, like what kind of a data warehouse you're talking about? What is that exactly?
No, anything. It could be a database, it could be an application, anything. Now what data services does is it will do your extractions of data from here. Okay. You don't, so usually in the warehouse you have probably cubes, or you have individual tables, and you model them and do all that, right? So in data services what we do is we do the extraction logic, we do the loading logic, but we don't usually build cubes and for us to report directly on data services. So at the end you might need a warehouse. Now when I say warehouse, it could be probably an Oracle system, it could be a BW system, or anything. You can push data into that. You get my point?
Okay, so like a data services consultants is also responsible to like build all these models in the data warehouse?
No. So you don't expect them to do that, but in case they have that knowledge, that will be great. Because we don't expect data services people to have knowledge with BW and InfoCubes and DSOs and all that. But what data services does is it will push your data till the PSA level if you're dealing with BW systems. If you're dealing with Oracle systems, yeah, because they're tables, you can still send it there.
Okay. And what other examples you can give, like data warehouse? Like I'm a BW consultant, so as in BW, like we basically like build all the cubes, everything. We do the data modeling and also scheduling everything, right? So that's the reason like I'm not able to
Exactly. Yeah. So now when you're dealing with BW, you're doing both ETL part, which is bringing data into BW system. You're also doing the modeling part where you're trying to build models for you to store that data, right? So what data services will handle is the ETL segment of that. Your cubes, your DSOs, you will still build them in BW, but data services will handle how you need to transform your data. Your transformation part of it will be handled by data services, and also your extraction part of data will be handled by data services. So you don't really have to use a lot of transformations where you probably will have to write routines and code and all that when you're connecting with your data source to your target. So you don't have, you do your transformations in data services, but you will do a direct mapping between your data source and your target system.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So coming back, so we would be extracting data from these different sources and staging data at data services in case you want to cleanse it, and also pushing data back to the data warehouse in case you want to push it to the warehouse. Somebody has any question?
Hello.
Suresh. Yeah, this is. Hey Suresh,
And
tell me.
yeah, the question, I mean, I'm a little bit confusing about here, like previously you have mentioned these data services, using these data services is very easy to mapping with the graphical mapping. But in BI, currently it is doing the graphical mapping. So what is the, I mean, what else extra these data services will provide beyond this BI graphical mapping?
Now, the thing about data services is, let's say if you're talking about BW, so you would have transformations there. You would take your source set of fields and your target set of fields, you map them. But in case you want to write some logic, all right, so you will have to either go with writing a routine, or you will have to go ahead and give a constant value, stuff like that. So data services has transforms, okay? Now transforms are like functions that you have which can be reused, okay, but at a very high scale where you can apply it on the entire table itself, okay. So these transforms are all pre-built, so it doesn't require you to go and do any additional stuff. Okay. So you can directly go ahead and use that transformation to go ahead and do the logic. So in case you want to go ahead and do some pivoting, or in case you want to go ahead and do some hierarchy flattening, or in case you want to do your delta mechanism. So for all of that, these transforms are pre-built. All that you need to do is take your data or your source, and you need to configure that to fit into the transform. All right. So you should tell it on which table you are trying to do, what is your date field. That's all. So if you mention those where you want to do your deltas, on which fields you want to do your deltas. So you mention that, automatically the system is configuring everything. So you don't have to go and start building your logic and all that. Added to that with 4.0, you have additional features of your extractors also available with data services. So that will make things even more simple. Alright. So with all of these features, it's a real boon that we can use data services and then create the logic in a very simple manner.
Okay. Yeah, but I think maybe I could understand a little bit, but it's still confusing. Like it's like as far as I know that it is none of the SAP service will provide like okay, map it and then you are done. So I don't think so. Nothing will be happening. Any standard extract which is currently, I mean, BA 7.0 is like more stable. I'm sure that BA 7.0 is also it never provide like none of the SAP solution will provide like you map it, you are done. So I mean, still you need to write many.
Of course, even if you're doing with BW, you don't just map it and it's not done. You always have business rules that you need to put into that, and you will have to do some corrections. Yeah. The thing about data services is simple to do it there. All right. So because you already have these transforms which are pre-built. Okay. So that is the advantage that we bring in. All right. So probably when you're looking at classes, you would understand how different it is with BW. For people who know BW, it is simpler to learn data services for sure. Yeah? So you understand the entire concept, the bigger picture, and becomes simpler. All right. So it's the same thing that we do in BW as well. Only thing is that modeling part does not exist in data services. But we bring the structure of the model into data services when we're dealing with BW. So, yeah. Any
So
other
here, right,
questions?
like data warehouse, like other than Oracle, what are the other than Oracle, what are the other data warehouses it can connect to?
You can connect to any database. So if your warehouse is on probably any SAP system or any database for that matter, SQL, BW, Oracle, Sybase, or anything for that matter. So anything can be a warehouse and the system is able to connect to that warehouse. Right. So people who worked on ETL would usually understand this. You have something called as workflows and data flows in here in data services. Now workflows is a concept like how we have process chains in BW, and they will help you to connect different processes or different transforms one after the other, and you will be able to go ahead and process them one after the other. Just a second. Somebody is asking a question. Just a moment. How is replication done from BODS to HANA? So we will be looking at that. We'll be using data services for replication purpose. We'll be importing the schema that we create in HANA and also the tables that we need to push. So it's not just a single straightforward step. You will have to create the schema there and then re-import data into data services, and then we'll have to create model in data services. So we'll look at that. So we have HANA also on the server, so you would be able to see the connections as well. All right, so so talking about the workflows, we have these different transforms. If you look at the transforms in here, address cleansing, data cleansing, query transform, match transform. So all of these are different transforms that are available. Okay, and we will be able to go ahead and model or change the data in these transformations. So let's say you want to cleanse your address data. Now you don't, in case you want to write that on BW, you will have to write a million routines. You will have to check for alphabets. You have to check for digits where they are. You have to check for punctuations and all of that. But your address cleanse is a transform that all of that is done already. All that you need to do is on which field do you want to go ahead and do your address cleanse. Okay. So or if you're looking at data cleanse, so which fields do you want to do your data cleanse, and then in case you want to do your mapping, so how to use your query transform. Match transform is again used for deduplication to avoid redundancy of data. So these are all pre-built transformations which are very powerful, can handle huge amounts of data. So that can be done. And once all of it is done, you would be pushing it into your target system. It works exactly like how we use the process chains. Different processes are available, and they execute one after the other, either in series or in parallel, so you can do that. All right. And these are called as workflows or data flows in data services. Now you have majorly three sets of transformations. One is your platform set of transformations, your data integrator set of transformations, then you have data quality set of transformations. In each of this set, you have a whole lot of transformations available. Your platform transformations, you can, in case you want to do some modifications on your row or column level data, then you would use the platform set of transformations. At your extraction level, or you want to push the data down to the database for performance, or you want to do hierarchy flattening, CDC or delta captures and all that, you use data integrator set of transforms. And for cleansing your data, you use your data quality set of transformations. All right. So these are the three main set of transformations. We'd be playing a lot of emphasis on transforms, basically because be it any source, be it any target, data remains the same once it comes to the transformation level. And that's where you would like to write your logic. And for you to write your logic, you need to understand what are all the possible ways you can use the transform, right? So we'd concentrate a lot on how to use these transformations. And yeah, and also usually what happens is your administrator will make the connection between your sources and targets. So all that you would need to do is just access the tables on which you need to apply your business logic or business rules. All right. So coming to the important part, which is the architecture of data services. Let's try to take a look at the architecture. Now, if you look at the architecture, the repository is the central component of data services. Here I call this as a central component basically because it is able to connect to your different systems, which is your management console, your designer, and your data services service. Right? Now this is a distributed architecture. It has a lot of smaller servers as well. But what repository does is it is almost like a database. It has connection information between your management console, your designer, and the job service as well. Now, the first connection between your repository and data services service or your job server, if you look at the data services service, you have three smaller servers there. One is the job server, access server, and the engines. Now, the job server is the one which will handle your batch jobs, all right? So any movement of data or scheduling of jobs and how these should run, the job server is able to handle that. Okay? And in case you have real-time clients or real-time sources and you need to access data using XML, so you use the access server. And then you have the engines. The engines are the ones through which you will be connecting to. They'll be helpful for your data quality basically. Now, how does data quality happen? Now, when I talk about data quality, how would you understand whether a particular set of data is not in quality or is in quality? The first thing that occurs to our mind is we need to have a standard set, right? The standard set will tell us whether your data that is coming through is either not of the best quality or of the best quality, all right? So the standard set of files we call here as dictionaries and directories, and these are provided by SAP, and for SAP these are provided by the postal department. Now these files consist of standard names, standard male names, standard female names, short names, your postal codes, your country codes, your state names, your street names, your different addresses, you have your phone numbers, your fax numbers, you have your SSN codes, you have your abbreviations of companies, acronyms, and a lot more, okay? And these consist of all standard stuff, all right? So in case if it's SAP, so you will have the acronym in case somebody wants to change it from systems and applications and you want to put an SAP there, you can do that, or in case you have your company name and you want to just put your abbreviation, or you want to add, let's say, a prefix before your name like a Mr. or Miss, so you want to check that whether it's a male or a female. All that can be handled. In case you're looking at address checks, you want to look at redundancy checks, all that can be done. Now, these dictionaries and directories are, when your actual data flows through these cleansing transforms, your data is referenced across these standard files. And when your data is referenced across these standard files, you will understand whether data is of the best quality or no. All right. So these dictionaries and directories come in as a zip package, and these will be installed on your data services system, and then we will point our transforms, our data quality transforms, to these dictionaries and directories. Right? So that is what happens with the engines. So this is what is there in your data services service, consists of job server, access server, and the engines. Now, the second connection is your management console, which is nothing but your administration cockpit. All right, your entire RFC connections, your repository connections, all of that are done at your management console. Now, in the version 3.2, you would do everything at the management console, but now with 4.0, you have another level, which is CMC, Central Management Console, at a common platform between business objects, enterprise, and data services. So you will have to log into the CMC to access your management console, and that's another level of security that you have for your data there. So the management console can help in a lot of things in case you're doing your RFC connections between systems, SAP systems, or in case you are you need to schedule your jobs to run at a particular time frame. So all of that can be handled from the management console, your repositories, your profiler repositories, your central repositories, and all that can be handled from your management console. And the third connection between your repository and is the designer, which is the interface on which you'll be working on. All right. So that's the interface you'll be working on, and as a migration consultant or a quality consultant, you'll be working on the designer. All right. So we will be looking into that's our concentration. We will be working a lot on the designer. So these are the few. Or these are the components that you have in data services architecture, and we will be looking into each of these individually and trying to understand what exactly each one does and how we can handle, how we can access these, and how we can make changes and all that. So we'll be concentrating on the designer. We'll be looking at a lot of different aspects, and we will be looking at CDC, which is change data capture, which is an important frame where we will be looking at the SCDs, the slowly changing dimensions, and how do we create type 1, type 2, type 3, and you have different kinds of CDCs, source CDC and target CDC, how to handle deltas. We'll be looking at how to schedule your jobs, how we connect to SAP systems, how do we extract data from SAP systems, and how do we push data into BW systems, how do we extract data from BW systems, how do we handle IDOCs, hierarchies, and all that. We're looking there. Now this is again an SAP tool right now, and so there are a lot of migrations and all that happening with the SAP data. So it's always better that you understand SAP data when you are dealing with data services. Definitely we will be looking at other systems as well, like Oracle and SQL and all that, Excel files and all that. We will be trying to go step by step. So we will be dealing with normal fact files first, then database, then we go into SAP systems, and so we'll be going step by step. All right. So, and any questions you can shoot now. I'll just take you through the system ones. Okay, the interface looks something like this. So you go into programs and you have data services designer. So once you go into the data services designer, so it'll ask you for your and you will have your repositories, and you can we will be logging into business objects data services, and we have different repositories. We connect to our individual repository, and we will also see different sources that we connect to. So we will be connecting to BW sources, BW targets, SAP, CC, HANA, and other databases as well. We'll be connecting to flat files, DTDs, XMLs, Excel workbooks, and all of that. So We'll also look at how projects happen, what actually happen in the project, when do we use data services, how difficult is it to make changes when you're bringing data from a source to a target. So we will be looking at all of those. Basically, this is the interface that you have. This is called the designer. Basically divided into three main windows. One is your project area, your local object library, and your work area. Right. So we will try to understand how we build our different flows and how can we go ahead and make use of those. So how do you build logic, and how do you, so we will be looking at these different things during our training sessions. How do you connect to the management console? How do you make changes there? How do you create your RFC connections? So all of that. So these are the different set of transforms that you have: data quality, data integrated, and platform set of transforms. So we'll be covering all of these transforms during our training sessions. And yeah. Any questions at this point? So we will be looking at all of these in tomorrow's session as to how we start off, how do we create a repository, how do we make connections, how do we create a job server, what is the concept of ports in the job server, all that. So can we handle multiple job servers? All of that we will be looking at. Yeah. Not just from a point of certification or something, but we'll also look at how real-time things happen in the at workplace, and we'll try to cover those issues as well. Okay. Any questions, guys? So let me know if you have any questions. Or you can leave a chat message. So if you have any questions. So that's all from the demo today.
What will be the what will be the schedule for this class?
It's 7:30 p.m. A good time for you, 7:30 p.m. EST.
Okay, and it's going to be 1 hour class every day?
It'll range between 1.5 hours, yeah, 1 hour 15 minutes to sometimes might go 2 hours. So usually it'll be 1.5 hours.
Okay, and how about during the weekends?
I mean, up to all of you. If all of you would want to do it on the weekends, I can do more hours on the weekends, so that's fine with me.
One thing is, like, I'm also taking the business objects front-end 4.0. That class starts at 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. EST. So can we make sure like there is no clash between these two? And so like Kalyan also mentioned to me that there shouldn't be a clash between these.
Don't worry, that will be arranged. 7:30 we start here, so 9 o'clock I'll let you go into that next session.
Okay. And we can even continue during the weekends, I guess, right?
Sure. We'll ask everybody else if we'll look at how everybody's placed with their schedules, and based on that we will do it on the weekends as well.
Sure.
All right. Okay, great. So let's, I guess you have Kalyan's email address. You can send an email to Kalyan, or you can email your suggestions to me. Okay. So, any other questions before we end this session?
Last question, like what is the expected date to start this course?
Either tomorrow or day after.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So I think it'll be tomorrow itself. Anything else, guys? Anything?
What about the practical training purpose? So the software.
Great. So like how I connect to the servers, you will also be given access to the servers. Talk to Kalyan about it, or to me about it. will give you the server access. You should be able to use the server access. It will consist of everything. Okay, it will consist of data services. It will consist of business objects. It will consist of BW 7.3 and also SAP HANA systems as well. So if you would want the server access, just let me know or let Kalyan know, and we'll be arranging for that for you within after 2 days from when our session starts. All right. Because the first 2 sessions will be a little bit of theory to understand what is the terminology and how these objects are connecting, what are the different things that we will be looking into. So once that is done, we will be giving you the server access. The moment I start doing practical sessions, I would expect all of you to be on the same page. So we'll arrange that for you on this, yeah, and so everybody will have your own username and password. Can be accessed 24/7. So, yeah. Any other questions?
So we can extract the data from through HANA, BW, as well as other source?
Absolutely.
Sure, okay. That's great.
Anything else, sir, before we close? All right. So
Thank you.
I hope to see you guys tomorrow. You can send in. I hope you have Kalyan's email address. You can just send an email to him, and then they'll anyways contact you. Okay. Yeah. You have Kalyan on the staff page, so you can just send an email to him. He'll provide you with the link for your for the demo session. All right. So that'll. So that's Stephen, right? So Stephen, yeah.
How long this course?
Yeah, that's a good thing. We would go between 21 sessions to, or 18 sessions to 22 sessions. That will be between 25 to 30 hours.
Oh, 30 hours, okay.
Yeah, 25 to 30 hours. Yeah, depends on everybody in the group. So sometimes you might not have people who are completely working on SAP, so we might go a little bit in detail for them. So yeah, all right.
Okay.
All right, sir. So I will see you around tomorrow, and I hope to see all of you there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
Good
nice
night.
evening. Bye-bye.